based in New York City? Simple answer. We both passionately believe in the arts as a way to tell our stories that have impact on our community and in the city. Over the next year, this unique partnership is dubbed Idea City Winston-Salem, a banner of sorts in which we string along a series of events that amplify how we can be part of the creative economy. In October, we kicked off a series of virtual talks called Beta Bonfires. Bear with me, you'll get used to all of this new nomenclature, where we began to connect New York City creative entrepreneurs with their counterparts in Winston. These panels have so far featured the concepts of rethinking norms and workforce development. In February 2021, we will tackle scale as we move towards an in-person event we call Camp. Fingers crossed, in April, Wake Forest will host a 3-day professional development program at the Innovation Quarters for a group of young creative local leaders. Camp will culminate in an all-day outdoor free public festival, which includes the Marketplace of Ideas, a mayor's panel, and of course, food and music. Calendar that, April 17th. I'm delighted to introduce tonight's Beta Bonfire, where we get close and personal with the Wake Forest team members who created the astoundingly poetic and inventive ground-up performance. It was an essential extravaganza 1 year ago. As we recalibrate our campuses across the nation and we acknowledge our oftentimes invisible first-line workers, Wake Forest visits why they recast the facilities department as a creative workforce to be reckoned with and, more importantly, to be recognized. I now turn it over to Idea City partner from the mayor's office, Evan Raleigh.
Thank you, Karen. Good evening. My name is Evan Raleigh, and on behalf of the Office of the Mayor and Mayor Alan Joins, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's event. And want to say, of course, a big thank you to Wake Forest University and New Museum for making Winston-Salem the home for this series of Beta Bonfires events, albeit virtually. And we are certainly with you, Karen, that fingers crossed that we'll be able to host you all here in Winston-Salem in person next spring. I'm excited that you have the opportunity to view this presentation and discussion tonight. I had the privilege of watching this production, and it's so inspiring to see folks whose work traditionally goes unrecognized and unnoticed to have that opportunity to be in the spotlight because their work is so incredibly critical. It's very much like the work that many city employees do here, day in and day out, providing for the needs of our citizens in a very much unheralded way. But they do it with love, they do it with passion. And I think for anybody who had the opportunity to view this production, you certainly saw that love, that passion that these folks bring to the table each and every day as they go about their duties and job responsibilities. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over now to Mrs. Christina Soriano, who is the Associate Provost for Arts and Interdisciplinary Initiatives at Wake Forest University, who will be serving as the moderator for tonight's discussion. Christina?
Thank you so much, Evan and Karen. Welcome, everybody. It is a privilege to be here tonight with my colleagues and with all of you. And together with the leadership of my dear colleague Cindy Gendrick and our Interdisciplinary Performance and the Liberal Arts Center, and with generous support from the National Endowment for the Arts and the New England Foundation for the Arts, Wake Forest was so pleased to be co-producers of Wake Forest 2019 Epic Collaboration with our Wake Forest Facilities and Campus Service team and Forklift Dance Works from Austin, Texas, to present from the ground up. So whether you saw this production in October of 2019, or maybe you saw the documentary film about the work, or you're coming to this event for the first time, you are in for a real treat. We are going to meet some of the amazing people involved in this landmark production, and we're going to talk about it through the lens of workforce development. So I want to thank Idea City for inviting us to have this discussion that brings together seemingly unlikely partners, artists and facilities and campus service staff. So another way I like to think about those groups of people is a winning team. I hope you enjoyed seeing the photographs of university photographer Ken Bennett and Wake Forest alum Kayla Amador as you arrived. We'll flow them in again at the end of our discussion, and you will have an opportunity to see the link to the documentary film, The Making of From the Ground Up, expertly created by Brandon Gazer and graduate student colleagues at Wake Forest from Wrought Iron Productions, which is a part of our documentary film program here at Wake. So next, what I want to do is introduce my dear colleagues involved in this project and their role in the show. And as I introduce them, they'll turn their cameras on and wave to all of you. Matt Crawford, who is a member of the class of 2020, who served also as a production assistant on the project. John Chanette, our VP of Facilities and Campus Services, also known as the Yes Man on the show. Stephanie Poskin, who is Senior Director of Facilities Support Services and Operations, also known as No Balls Will Drop on This Project While I'm Here, lead. And next, I want to introduce Kobach Taylor, Facilities and Campus Service locksmith and an extraordinary performer in our show. And Cynthia Wilson, a custodial lead at Wake. Hey, Cynthia. And also an extraordinary performer in our production. And lastly, Allison Orr, Director of Forklift Dance Works and a beloved Wake Forest alum. So I think I got everybody, and I think our cameras are all on, so we can move into this discussion now. Allison, I want to start with you if I can. Can you just share with everyone a scope of this project? It was huge. And I'd love it if you can just talk about how we work together to get so many different partners involved academically and in partnership with everyone at Facilities and Campus Service staff, and also what it meant for you coming back to Wake Forest as an alum.
It's great. Well, I'm so happy to be here with you all this evening. Thank you so much for having me. I think I'll just begin by saying it was a dream project. And for Forklift, we typically work big. This was big. This was big even for us. And I remember the first moment I met John Chanette and we were standing out on the quad and I said, John, do you think we could get bleachers? And he said, we're facilities. You know, and I kept asking. It was always, of course, we're facilities. This is how we do things. So I think for us, it was about creating a project with all the remarkable partners on campus that really did justice to the work of the facility staff, which is immense and extraordinary. So we had over 70 employees in the actual performance, but I would say close to 125 that participated at all different kinds of ways, picking up extra shifts, allowing us to job shadow. We had 9 faculty intimately involved by teaching courses that were tied to the project, plus many more faculty that helped us spread the word, attended and helped us to share the project. We had 7 professional musicians plus many more student musicians. We even had the campus gamelan ensemble participating. We had over, I would say, 15 crew plus more. And then I mean, Stephanie can talk more, but a lot of volunteers, over 25, and then in terms of students, I mean, 50, if not more, involved in the production from the beginning to the end. And then I'll just say so much respect to Christina and Cindy, who really brought me in and graciously designed all of this together with me and my team. It was a multi-year project to really try to do justice to the beauty of the work. And lastly, just as an alum, it was such a gift. I met employees who were on campus when I was on campus in the 90s. It really helped me, I think, to bring my connection to Wake Forest full circle, to really get to understand and more, and really get a real I would say, embodied experience of the really important work that has always been happening on campus and that I honestly didn't know a lot about in the 90s as a student. So very, very grateful.
Thanks, Allison. I'm going to shift now, if I can, to John and Stephanie. You know, you were our fearless leaders from facilities who at the beginning looked at us like we were crazy. And then you moved things quickly into a place of, yeah, let's move forward. This is exciting. Can you talk a little bit more about this production, particularly? You know, it was 3 performances over 2 years in development. And if we look at it through the lens of what workforce development means, which is a term we hear a lot, I think, in professional organizations these days. So from this workforce development lens, how is this production an example of that for your team? I'll start with you, John, and then Stephanie, if you can follow, that would be great.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, everybody. Happy to be here. This is something that in my career, I never thought we'd be able to participate in such a wonderful event. So when you look at, an organization, the most valuable thing, in my opinion, and I think in many that do this for a living, is the people that you're surrounded with. So when we had an opportunity to participate and look at a way to showcase the talents of the individuals that we have in our organization, oftentimes for facilities, people are behind the scenes and they're not showcased. This took us out of our normal day-to-day activity and brought us to the forefront. And so when you look at workforce planning, this was an opportunity for people to try something new. When we merged with the arts, we said, well, what does that mean for us? We're facilities. So we stepped into areas where we were talking with faculty, students, staff. We were engaging in production type scenarios. We were being taught how to orchestrate, how to move differently to the sounds of, music. Our bodies changed, our minds changed, and that made us begin to look at our jobs a little differently. We were able to begin to showcase really who we were and to put our bodies and minds in front of a group of people and showcase the skills that we had. In my opinion, that was workforce development. We were on stage to really showcase who we were.
That's awesome. Thanks, John. Stephanie, anything you want to add, please?
Yes, I can add is, facilities is kind of, strategies in action. We're always kind of moving and being flexible. We didn't realize how flexible we needed to be with this project. So thank you, Allison. I think it really sort of created the framework to create some strong and vital partnerships that we didn't actually know that we needed in our lives. And so I think that when it comes to workforce and making those strong relationships, I think it builds on all of that. So I think that was vital.
I think so much about this partnership for me was how much we all learned from each other. And I want to, with that, shift to Cynthia and Kovac, because with job shadowing, you learned a lot about your jobs. And I'm so grateful that students had that opportunity. I'm so glad I had that opportunity. I'll never forget setting up chairs for graduation with colleagues in facilities. And there is a lot that goes into that, not just the sheer numbers, but also there is a very calculated way that happens. So I want to address how much of that knowledge sharing was so critical to this project. And with that, Cynthia and Kovac, can you talk a little bit today about the impact that this experience had for you in your work? And maybe a little bit too, what changed about your jobs and maybe some of the relationships you have with your colleagues on your teams or in the university overall? Maybe Cynthia, you can go first.
Thank you, Christina. Hi, everyone. This just was a good experience. It just brought us together as a team, not just the custodian staff, but with maintenance, because I just didn't know everybody, but I know everybody now. And I know them by name. You know, a lot of times I knew people by face, but when you get to know people by name, that's just a real special thing, you know. So I was just so glad that we was able to come together and work as a team and as a one. And another thing was I just really enjoy getting to know John and Stephanie as them being my leaders. I knew John came in around like the same time I did, but this really just took us to another level. I really know him now as, yes, he is my manager. Yes, he is my head, but he's my friend, and that just really means a lot to me. And Stephanie, I just didn't get to know you on this level, but I'm so grateful, that I got to know you through this production. And I'm just grateful that I just got to work with different people. And then the students, oh my gosh, after the show, the students came up to me and was like, hey, you was in the show, weren't you? And that just was like, that meant a lot, because I'm not just a custodian, I'm a part of a family, and that really means a lot. And people still talking about, my brother is still talking about it. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Kovac, how about you?
I think for this, since I've been at Wake Forest, and I've been here for probably over 30 years, it's been one of those life memories that you'll have forever. If we ever get the CD, I can pull it out and share it with my grandchildren and see how the performance was. And probably when I'm gone, they can play it. I say, oh, that's Papa right there, and see how that things are done around our campus and with our teams. One thing about our teams that we kind of recognize if we looked at is that we have a really cohesive group around here as far as doing technical work, extraordinary in their fields, men and women, whatever they do. Our leadership is strong. And even as things come and go, we have our little obstacles that gets in the way, and we keep on going. We'll fight through it. We'll keep on going, no matter what. And one of the things that I've kind of learned since from here to, from October until now, and we're going to get into that later, that we continue to do what we have to do to make the campus run, be successful in what we do. And that's one of the great things about our teams and teams around campus. I know our team here with the lock shop, we have tried to stay together and tried to keep our campus as secure as possible. Sometimes it's hard when we have our students try to do things to manipulate that, but it's fun nonetheless. So, we are encouraged to continue to go right along ahead.
I love that. I'm reminded, Kovac, of you and the locksmiths and how clear the vision you had for your portion of the show. I think one thing too that this thing taught me too was just how much creative vision this unit on our campus has. I'm reminded of a spot in the documentary when my colleague Cindy talks about the campus looks the way it does because of the creative people that are in facilities and campus services. The artistry and the creativity and the passion that comes from that, incredible staff, so many of you, and the dedication, and someone like Kovac who's been here for over 30 years. It's pretty extraordinary. I'm realizing I wanted to cue a short excerpt. If we can now, Donovan, this seems like a good spot to add, if we can, a trailer from the show From the Ground Up, not the documentary, but we're going to put that documentary link into the chat later. But can we show quickly the trailer from the show for folks who maybe didn't see it?
We call our show From the Ground Up, and it'll be a performance with facility staff. So with the custodial staff, the grounds, the maintenance crews, the construction crews.
We're used to making an impact, but personally, we are kind of like invisible.
That's the gist of what we're trying to show here. We're not just maintenance men, we're not just carpenters, we're not just, lawnmowers. We're still real people.
As far as the Wake Forest community, I think they're going to see us more. I think they're going to see us.
Thanks, Donovan, for that. I want to shift to Matt now. Matt, congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you.
And now you are a working person like everybody else on this screen. And so it occurs to me that you have a really fascinating perspective now as someone who was a critical support person in the show. I love so much the forklift vision that so much we do at Wake Forest is for our students, as it should be. But it was really lovely to have students support our staff and have those roles flipped a little bit for a bit, right? So now that you work and get a paycheck and also the way you were a student at Wake, you have a couple of different perspectives about the show and what it meant and what it means now. So I'd love to hear your voice in this conversation.
Yeah, where to begin? I started off in this project as, I guess it was two parts. One part was as a Wake Forest student, and one part was as a forklift collaborator, which I had collaborated with them over the summer before that, on a project called Given Swims that was happening in Austin, and that was I feel like that was kind of my trial run of okay, how are things done here? And then I was able to come to Wake with that knowledge, however partial it might have been, of how it kind of works, and I was able to bring that in with me to an area that was more familiar to me, I guess, with the Wake Forest campus. I mean, I've lived there for 4 years. I actually never lived off campus, fun fact. So I was very, intimately familiar with the campus, and I could come in there and bring my perspectives from both sides of things, from the forklift side and also the student side. And I think that was really what helped me to collaborate with specifically the performers and the people from facilities that were, making this show and were the faces of this show. I was able to, I feel like my role was more, not as much to devise the performance or anything, but more to just be like a support system for them. I was a production manager, stage manager, help, whatever you want to call it. And I could just give them the perspective of, you can't see yourself out there, but I can see you, and I know that this is looking good, and I know that this is working, and at least from my perspective. So I could give them that, and that's the support that I had to offer. And I think that's how I fit into the project. As for how I view the project as a ex-student, alumnus, whatever you want to say, I think the main thing that I see that applies to workforce management is just that from a student perspective, definitely most of us don't know our facilities staff at Wake. And having a show where we could make them seen to everybody was, I think, really helpful to both sides, because, you know, when it's just this is their job and this is what they do, it doesn't really matter as much to you how you affect their job. And that's something that I've also realized more being in the workforce. You know, like I'm a customer service rep taking calls in a call center now, and I you know, there's a lot of great customers. There's also a lot of really not great customers who just want to be angry at me for whatever's happening. And definitely that second one can feel a little dehumanizing a lot of the time, where it's like you're just the face of this company and I'm going to take my frustrations out on you. And, you know, I know that's not fair. I know it's equally as unfair when students are just going to cause problems for facilities, which, to be honest, I think that's a big part of like a lot of the work that y'all do, is having to clean up our mess and the stuff that we just don't think about. So like if a lock breaks, then Kovac's got to be there, and nobody really thought about Kovac having to be there and taking hours out of his day to go and fix this mistake that you caused. You know, to fix that. You know, if you cause a mess in the hallway, then, you know, Cynthia's got to go and handle that. And that's just hours out of her day that could have been spent elsewhere. So I just think a show like this was very important from my perspective, to just show them as people. I mean, that's the biggest thing. It says it in the trailer, it says it in the documentary, all that stuff. But I think that's the most important thing about it, is that we see them as people, and not just, we don't see them as what their job titles are.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, let's open this up a little bit, because the people on this screen that work in facilities and campus services know acutely about the pandemic and the way you have served selflessly our campus community and beyond. And I can't help but think that maybe this show was a critical endorsement of your work in a way we never knew we needed to do and to provide. So in the throes of this pandemic, how did an example like this perhaps maybe help highlight the incredible feats that you continually demonstrate day in and day out, especially in response to COVID? Anyone want to start there? I know this will be a conversation that I hope we can stop having in a short time about the pandemic, but I cannot deny March to the present day and in the work that has happened with facilities and campus services as the front line, as essential. You take it to a whole new description. Thoughts about that?
I was going to say, I think we kind of had a first step and was ready, kind of, because of what we do every day. From our maintenance team to custodial, it's almost not like a blink of an eye, and we're on it. Right. We're able to take care of things. As far as like cleaning up rooms, even we have a team that we can have to disinfect and so forth around campus. Taking care of maybe someone who's gotten locked out, can't get in their spaces, no electricity, which is essential. Changing filters, that was a part of it, being able to help along those lines. And, even with this pandemic that's going on, and still to this day, we're still doing the same thing. Back like it was in March, we're still carrying on like men and women, like we should, as far as our teams are concerned.
With this pandemic, we didn't miss a beat. Like Kovac was saying, we still continue to do our daily job. We continue to stay cheerful. We continue to stay safe, but we continue to take care of the campus, because that's our job, and it was our responsibility, and it is. We enjoyed doing it, and we did it wholeheartedly. We was in there. So it was different though. It was really different because first of all the students wasn't here, and it just was different. And to keep your 6 foot distance, because I saw some of my RAs from last year and I couldn't give them a hug, and so it was different. It was different, but we still maintained, so yeah, we did it.
I think the performance that we did in October was the showcasing of really who we are as an organization, who we can be as an organization. And when COVID hit, it brought me back to a comment that was by Ron Whitlock, one of our electricians in our operations group. He said, when Wake Forest calls, we're here. And so during COVID, there was no hesitation. There was yes, there was anxiety, but we came to work. We relied on each other for guidance. We performed our jobs as professionals that we are. And more importantly, we were able to show, I think, back to the campus that we can control this for you. We'll make it a safe place. We can welcome students back. We'll take care of the disinfection. We're going to be able to listen to those regulators that give us guidance, CDC and others. We'll adapt our mechanical systems. We'll make those changes. Don't ever worry about us because we can take care of this. And the show kind of brought forward who we are. And when the time came to adapt to COVID, I can honestly say senior administration probably didn't have to worry about facilities taking care of that. And to this day, we still go in, we do our jobs, and the people have enough respect to trust us now. And that all emanated from the training that we got, right? Morphing into the arts world and adjusting, and the trust that we had with Allison's group that came and kind of mentored us and kind of showcased the abilities that we had. COVID came, it was like doing the production. It was the same type of thing, it's time to go live, and here we are. So it was, COVID is unique in my experience in 30 plus years like Kovac. I've never seen anything like this. But more importantly, I've never worked with a group of individuals that never blinked an eye. And I think that's really rewarding. And when I saw the show, it's the same feeling that I got. Same thing.
I would also add to that, who could have seen this coming a year ago when we were doing this in October, and who would have known? We all thought that our relationships amongst each other were pretty strong, but now coming out of this production is so much stronger as a community. We are not able to recognize our employees with, our, holiday to get, parties, or our potlucks, or, our community things that we usually do, around seasonal events. But we're able to hold on to this event that we had in October. We're able to see these pictures in our building. We're able to still talk to each other about it. We still have it here in our heart because of these strong relationships. And that is a blessing that no one could have seen coming. So silver lining for sure.
Allison, did you want to respond, or you want to? Actually, the next one might be, I'll start with you maybe. I'm grateful to audience. Thank you for the Q&A. I see the questions coming in, and we'll shift to those in 1 second. But I do want to make sure that we also address this idea about, okay, we had this incredible show. Then we had this incredibly difficult pandemic period. We've gotten through the election. What's next? How do we keep the spirit of this show going strong? How, when Wake Forest comes back to be Wake Forest, and Cynthia, you can hug those.
Yeah, I know, right? I
And
call them my babies.
Yeah, we can all join together and have that celebratory event to acknowledge the 100+ people that are not on this call right now, who were very involved in this production. but how do we keep this fire burning and this work alive and enduring? So Allison, maybe you can share some examples of other partners you've worked with and how that's worked well. And then I know my facilities creative spirits have ideas and plans, and fortunately I get to work in the provost office where maybe I can help make some of those things happen.
Awesome. Well, I think this is the key question that all of us as organizers, artists, activists, people who are trying to make, our communities better ask is, so what now? And, we at Forklift, and just shout out that there's a big team of us at Forklift, like there is at facilities, and you saw some of them in the video, but just gratitude to Christy Marty and Gretchen Lamont, Graham Reynolds, Stephen Pruitt, and the many other Forklift folks, supporters who made all this happen. But, we think about how can the performance not be the end, but the middle of a process. So a lot of the questions we have learned to ask is, how do you want things to be different in 5 years? What do you want to happen after? And there's, I think there's a lot of opportunities at Wake Forest for what comes next. I'm eager to hear that conversation. I'll say from our experience over the past 20 years of doing projects like this with people who don't identify as dancers, we've typically partnered with City of Austin departments. So we've worked with forestry staff and the Austin Energy, our power company, and our sanitation department, Austin Resource Recovery. But, I think what we've learned is that, first of all, it's a lot about relationship. It's all about relationship. And so who can we put in relationship through the creative process where people are vulnerable, step into new roles, show leadership, that then they can take those relationships and figure out what to do next. I like to say we have to build empathy and understanding and hopefulness to then do the hard work ahead. That's what we're doing. We're using this, the art making process, really to build a relationship and build connection. So with our other projects, like with the forestry project, part of the choreography was mulching a tree. The staff decided that every year they were going to mulch with the admin staff. So how do you bring admin and field staff together in an embodied way? Well, they just had a group mulch on a regular basis. With aquatic, we worked for 3 years with the aquatics department in Austin, and we were really looking for policy change there. Well, I had my notes here because I just had to say it. We had a $40 million aquatics bond passed. We think we had maybe a little to do with that in terms of raising public awareness. That was part of the project that Matt worked on. But we also, a working group came out of our last summer project with Gibbon Swims, Gibbon Park Working Group, that's really advising the city on next steps and development of Gibbons Park. So again, it's how do you connect the enthusiasm, the hopefulness, and the relationships, I think, to long-term change, to long-term, institutional processes. So those are just some of the examples. Lastly, I'll say we've been working at Wesleyan University for many years, and I know some of them are on the call because we're about to do this project there. And thank you to all of you who are here, because there's some participants. Go back, I think your boss might be on the call, of your fellow performer. But at Wesleyan, we've had physical plant staff teach courses. Again, it's like, how do you embed the opportunity for deeper relationship, understanding, and learning at the college level? And I think what I've learned through doing this project at Wake Forest, again, also Williams College, is the staff on campus brings so much learning. It's not just the professors who teach. It's the staff. It's the dining services worker who tracks every person who comes through the dining hall and asks them how they are and checks on them. And, it's just like Cynthia said, hugging on those RAs. So, all of the staff on campuses across the country play a critical role in the education of the students, and how can their contributions be more widely recognized and utilized. So I think we're talking about that at Wake Forest, about how to get the facility staff, doing some teaching as well. So lots of ideas. Thank you.
Others want to chime in? I mean, we've talked a little bit about how cool to have a university-wide job shadowing opportunity. I'm really interested to think about what the city and extended communities in our region can learn from the leadership of of people on the screen and beyond. I think this is also, we talk often about after the pandemic, systems are going to change. Everything needs to implode and alter. Suddenly, I think this is an opportunity too to look at the expertise of our colleagues in a place like Facilities and Campus Services and know it is not just this one box that is checked. So I am excited to see what becomes of that here at Wake. Any other thoughts? What's that, Cynthia?
To get our bus, right, John? To get our bus and hit the road.
Yes, Cynthia wants to take the show on the road and perform all over the country. I'm working on that with our budget team to see if that's feasible.
You know, you bring up a good point, Christina, and Allison alluded to it. You know, the campus it's a city. It's a small city. It has all the complex things that every other city has. And when the campus went quiet, we still had to maintain that infrastructure. But next steps, you know, mentoring. Our staff are very gifted. And when you look at some of the speakers that we have in the documentary, they talk about, you know, teaching at home and doing homework and, you know, participating in the church and doing other really key fundamental things with their lives. Connecting to the city and the young individuals, young men and women that want to make a career into facilities. Our profession is phasing out, and so there's an opportunity for our staff to mentor some of those individuals that would like to be an electrician, custodian, locksmith, all these other professional pieces that we have in our organization. More importantly, getting back into the classroom and doing that job shadowing effort. That was huge for us because we were making such a personal connection to the student body and connecting to faculty. So I think that at a minimum could take us forward. And more importantly, we are still going to celebrate what we did because we didn't get to do it on the 1-year anniversary, but once COVID's done, Facilities is going to rock.
Yeah, we're going to have a party.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you.
I was going to say, I
Go ahead,
was going to say one thing we missed out this year on was freshman moving day.
Yeah.
You know, getting engaged with some of the students that are just coming in and probably get to recognize some of them when we even go around campus. And that's kind of a biggie for us is missing that engagement with them and showing them kind of like, you know, who we are. We're just not, after this is over, we're just not moving people. Go back into our regular realm of our job doing whether locksmithing, custodial, electrician, HVAC guys, plumbing. We go back into our realm of that. And for them to miss out on that this year, that's kind of a setback for them a little bit, we can say. But hopefully when this pandemic is over, we can do something with them in order to get them re-engaged with us and even the ones that are coming in this upcoming year, you know, to help them out. Because like John said, we're still going to have, they're going to still have to have skills when they leave this campus, you know, go into the real world, learn how to change a tire, maybe plunge a toilet or even flip a breaker. Some of them, you know how to flip a breaker, change a light bulb, some of them. So, you know, some of them need to be taught that. What not to put in the lock.
Or Matt Murphy's team. Go back, Matt Murphy's team. Remember putting plastic in the oven.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There are so many questions, beautiful questions coming in. So I really want to shift now to our colleagues and friends, Donovan and Alana, who are going to help us manage these questions. Thank you for everything that has come up and for, in this last section too, these creative solutions that you share. I want to help create opportunities where your solutions are part of the discussion. So Alana, James, and Donovan Livingston, back to you.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alana James, Associate Director for Community Engagement at Wake Downtown, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. So I'm going to help us facilitate some of these questions, and they are coming in, so thank you. The first question is for Stephanie and John. What are some of the lasting and unexpected blessings that you've seen from having brought the facilities team together in this way?
Go ahead, Stephanie. You want to take this one, or I'll
Got
follow
it.
you?
I think we kind of already answered maybe this a little bit on some levels. I think just with COVID and everything happening, just didn't realize how badly we needed to bond before going into such a intense time. So dealing with COVID and everything that's going on right now, I'm not sure we could be at the point that we're at right now without dealing with this with our family, our facilities family. And I honestly and wholeheartedly think that without this grand non-traditional event, I'm not sure we would be quite as where we are, honestly, without a bigger fight. So I don't know how eloquently that was spoken, but it was from the heart. So
I think, what I take away from it, and what the facilities team has gained from this production, is that I was able to find out more information about non-work related issues and what people really do and why they do it. Sitting down for some of the meals that were, before the event, some of the discussions after the event, the conversations that took place after the first night was amazing. I found out more about people, and more importantly, I was able to share more about me on a personal side that I've never done in any other position that I've ever had. And so when I walk the campus now, it's not Cynthia, it's not Kopak. They're not workers in facilities. They're more of a friend. And, I saw Cynthia yesterday, and it was elbow to elbow, right? We can't touch, but we did elbow to elbow. That's something that built from that. So the personal relationships will never be replaced. And I don't know if any organizations that are facilities related have ever experienced anything that is touching as something like this. So we are a different group, and we are one of the only groups at Wake Forest that has been on the campus from the start, and we stayed united all the way to where we are today. So it is truly, as Stephanie said, a family, not a teamwork, of facilities people that come to work. We're a family.
Both for that response. Good evening again, family. My name is Donovan Livingston, Assistant Dean in the Office of University Collaborations and part-time lecturer in the Department of Education. With that said, I want to transition to a question from a faculty member who writes, I would love to know how to sign up for classes led by facilities staff. Is this already something that's in place at Wake Forest, or is it something that's we can expect down the road?
It's a great question. So it is something that we do. It's been advertised in the PDC. COVID, unfortunately, has stopped us from that. A lot of the life lesson programs that we do, how to maintain home residential HVAC systems, how to maintain that little engine that comes on your vehicle that says, something's wrong, how to diagnose that, how to plant grass, how to fertilize your lawn, the seasonal changes. The landscaping group did a holiday wreath making where they would do, an arrangement. So yes, we do that. I think we're going to continue to do more. We just need to get the number of people that we're allowed to get together. But yes, that is something that we will push forward through social media when we're able to start it up again.
Excellent. And we actually have a comment that said, I'm so excited for you all at Wake Forest. Allison and Forklift changed my life. I was in Trash Dance, and I hope you get the chance to take the show on the road. Congratulations on a great performance, which is a wonderful comment and leads into the next question. It's been asked jokingly, but on a serious note, is there a possibility for a follow-up live show in the future?
John doesn't get to answer this. No, just kidding.
I think Christina and I have talked about that. I think, you know, with the transition of, you know, a new president, a lot of things have changed. I would love to do a sequel. I think it would be tremendous. Does it need to be the exact thing we did? No. Does it need to be bigger? No, but I think it's just coming back and putting on that performance. I would love to work with Allison and Christina again.
It would be amazing.
Oh.
I think we can set up a GoFundMe page. So, we can take it on the road, probably. I don't know.
I think take it on the road, man.
Except how are we gonna take those trucks and the bleachers? That's why I'm so grateful that we really made sure that we documented the 2+ years of job shadowing and rehearsals and class visits. And I'm so grateful to Wrought Iron Productions for working with us so closely, and Cindy, who was painstakingly detailed with that film editing too, to make sure that this documentary really shares what happened. But I mean, any new collaborative opportunity we have, I think we should seize it. I also would love to work closely with facilities and campus service on more public art endeavors and opportunities. I think so much about the landscaping team. They know this campus. They know what spaces and what areas would welcome public art. And I think about my friend Ernie and the way recycled materials could come back into the fold. So there's so many opportunities that I think we can have. And I think, so many of our colleagues that were in that production in the music ensemble weren't even necessarily all from the music department, right? There are talented musicians everywhere. So any chance we have to build that musical ensemble as we showcase our facilities and campus service staff, I think would be also really cool.
Wonderful. The next question we have states, how can those of us watching the webinar and who are inspired by this work best spread the word about From the Ground Up? And this is sort of open to everyone, but in addition, how can we also celebrate the dignity of our colleagues' work at our various institutions? So how can we get the word out, and how can we be better at celebrating our colleagues' work that might often go unnoticed?
Cynthia, I'm eager to hear what Cynthia and Kobe, what would you like from, what would you say?
I didn't hear the question.
How do we get the word out more? Telling people about the documentary is one thing. What are other ways we can share this experience with others?
They get on the road.
I believe more so, when when they were to watch the documentary, they would see a lot of what we do. And I think it might even start from there, especially like in our community here in Winston-Salem, and even in the Wake Forest community. If we can get a hold of something that they can see, and then eventually they'll come to know, like, even us when we hit out in the grocery stores and so forth, they might recognize some of our faces by one of those events, like per person on the grounds crew and so forth. Oh, I've seen you before. And we probably won't even next night. And it probably make somebody's head swell, Cynthia, but see about that I seen you on this. And hey, Cynthia, you might give them your autograph, maybe.
I want your autograph.
I'll just chime in. I know Don Anderson, it sounds like he's on the call. That happens to Don. He gets stopped in the grocery store because he was the star of this show and this documentary film, Trash Dance. But I heard from Don, and I'd love to hear from you all, facility staff. Often it's just a simple look in the eye and thank you. It's a recognition of somebody's work. It's an understanding what happens and then not making it harder on people, setting your trash cans out properly. I'm thinking of the aquatics maintenance staff, about just understanding the complexity and then honoring what it takes, why the pool's closed when it's closed, because, well, the chlorine level's off and this is how long it takes to fix it. So are there simple things that ordinary people could do to make your lives easier or your work better, or for you to feel in facilities more valued and appreciated?
I think the more we get out into the community and do some of that job shadowing that we did with the classroom, I think, the student staff bond becomes much greater. Last week, I received a card from a student that was leaving just before the holiday to go back home. And she said that she wanted to send a simple note and how grateful she was that facilities remained on campus and was able to respond to her calls when she had time of need. That card distributed through facilities. I think there's also ways to engage with some other resources within the city to help, as I talked about the job shadowing, but is there a way to do a community event and display this documentary at a larger venue where we get to maybe showcase not just the Wake Forest group, but others that do the exact same type of work? Is there a way to have a day of celebration for those essential workers that take it to that extra mile? We're not going to be in COVID forever, I hope. And, so if we could join our celebration with other partners in the community, I think that would be a wonderful step forward to build those collaborations, because we do a lot of work with other groups, and I think we can push those boundaries a little more.
Yeah, thank you, John. We're coming up at the end of our hour. I also want to say too that I remember that there are national facilities conferences that were interested in hearing about this project. There are presenting arts organizations that are interested in hearing more about this. There are funding organizations to look into about this. We have to work with Matt Crawford's company and do this project too, right? So, so we have a lot to do. But as we sign off, I know this is just goodbye for now. I know I'll see you all again very soon. And I want to thank Idea City again. I look forward to future events as this year, Idea City Winston-Salem continues. And with that, I will go back as we're all signing off, and we can see some more images from our production. And that in the chat, Donovan, if you can also put the link to the documentary film so people can grab it. And any other Q&A that we didn't get to answer, if your name is there, I will follow up with you so we respond to you in an email in some capacity too. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.